Let me tell you, this week has been crazy. I am a hot mess right now. Hello and welcome to or back to Miss Craft Salad's Lair. I am Barbie. Welcome. I know I've been getting a lot of new subscribers. Welcome. I am so glad to have you here. And let me tell you, this week has been crazy. I am a hot mess right now. I had to take the chance to get down and record whatever I can record while I have a little bit of a quiet time in my house. So, hopefully I won't be disturbed. Hopefully I can get this done before I have the back door opening. But for now, I am here, and because of the fact that this week has been absolutely crazy, I am digging into my box of little already made scripts. So then that way I can get a video out to you guys this week. I have a big project that I've been working on, but that's completely a different video. So today's video, I am doing a sewing creators tag. Now, I was going to do sewing and quilting together, but I figured let's just do sewing for now, and I will do a patchwork quilting one because I have some more information on that. Slightly different answers. So first off, let me say that this creator tag is also it is inspired by the Faded Wildflower. I could talk right, it would be great. This was inspired by the Faded Wildflower. Rachel there did a crochet creator tag, and I liked it so much that I wanted to continue on with the other stuff that I do. So then that way I can let you guys know a little bit more about me. So if you are wondering any questions, I figured that this is a kind of a jumping off point. So then that way, if you do have questions for me as to all of that stuff, I can do a live later on. I am planning on doing lives soon. So yes. Of course, this is harkening back towards those MySpace days where you would have a questionnaire and you would fill it out, and then or change the answers to what your answers are, and then you would end up sending it out, tagging friends, family members, tagging other people to also answer those same questions. So without further ado, let's get to these questions. These are basically the same questions that the Faded Wildflower Rachel did post, only I have kind of tweaked them a little bit to be for sewing today. So here we go. So the first question is, how did you learn to sew? And the answer to that for me is the fact that I grew up watching PBS. I will own it. I am a nerd. I am a geek. I loved watching PBS. And on PBS, we had a show called Sewing with Nancy, and I would watch that show and take down whatever little notes that I could. Um, Even though at this point in time I did not have a sewing machine, I did not have fabric, but I was storing away all this little knowledge nuggets of sewing. So when I did get my sewing machine, I went back and watched more episodes, or watched the episodes again from Sewing with Nancy, to get a better idea and to actually teach myself through watching Sewing with Nancy how to sew. What is my favorite thing to sew? I have sewn a couple of dresses, and I have sewn mainly pajama pants, and just comfy, cozy pants and shorts. So those would probably be my favorite things to sew because I am so used to sewing those. I would, however, love to branch out my sewing capabilities. Um, yeah, it's kind of scary though because the fact that with branching out on my sewing, I was so used to going to Joann and buying the pattern. So I have a lot of patterns and I can probably piecemeal patterns together to get the look that I want. But with Joann being closed, now I'm like, where am I going to get my patterns from? If you have a favorite designer, if you have other places to get patterns, I would greatly appreciate those in the comments as well as your answers to these questions. Thank you. If you could only use one fabric for the rest of your life, what would it be? I would probably have to say cotton, like a regular old cotton fabric, because I can still make, there's so many things that you can do with quilt cotton or with cotton in general. So I would probably say cotton fabric is a must to have around. Um, I have I have also sewn a teddy bear. He looks kind of cursed, but that just kind of happens. But no, I would definitely say cotton fabric would be the fabric that would have to stick around. On the other side of that, a fabric that I would not recommend or would not want to deal with again is that faux fur stuff. I made a bunch of pom-poms and it was I did it wrong. I cut it wrong. And so I had fur all over. Learning experience, I guess. The weirdest thing I've ever made is probably my cursed teddy bear. It didn't come out horrible, but it didn't really come out great. So I'm gonna call that a weird thing because I mean, other than making stupid sewing mistakes, like the first time I made a pair of shorts, I sewed the ankle hole closed. Something that only I could probably do, but I did sew the ankle closed. So I guess on weird, some shorts you couldn't put your feet through. Something you'll never sew. Other than just weird apparel, I couldn't really say for sure that I wouldn't try something. I'm always loving to try new things and to learn from trying new things because I think that is a very important part of trying new things is to learn what you like, learn what you can do, learn what you need to learn some more about. So, like I said, I'm a nerd geek. I will own it. Where do you get your inspiration? I can find inspiration in Pinterest. I can find my inspiration just walking through a grocery store. Um, I saw I saw this guy yesterday, just yesterday, mind you. I saw this guy wearing blue jeans, but they were designed so they were like two two fabrics. I That's something I would love to try. But I walked into the store behind him and I was like, those pants are kind of fun. They probably were extremely warm for being in the middle of summer here in southern Wisconsin, but they were really cool and they kind of had like this whole it's hard to explain. Like it was a rip that was intended but the way that it was like two pans together. It was interesting. But like I said, I can find inspiration by walking into the grocery store behind a guy with very interesting pans. And and that kind of stuff. Sometimes I get some inspiration from TV shows, but a lot of that hasn't really gone into my sewing. It's been more my knit and crochet. So that's the joys of being a multi-crafter. The favorite thing I've made so far this year. I think so far this year, my favorite thing that I have made is the wine purse. That is going to be linked in the description below because I just enjoyed making that, even though I lost my voice and I couldn't talk while I was making it. I really enjoyed making that purse. And the amount of compliments that I've gotten on that purse is kind of surprising because I didn't think that there was going to be many people like that would notice it. But I've been using it on the daily. I have not moved my stuff out of it from the wine walk, and I'm still using it on a daily basis. And I've gotten quite a few compliments on that purse. So I am proud of that purse. My sewing plans for the future that I'm excited about, or technically, let's reword that. What sewing plans are you excited about for the future? I would say my probably would be just sewing in general because I have still yet to work the kinks and get used to my newer sewing machine. So I think just sewing in general and getting to know that to the point where it's not like kind of scaring me because it's still kind of like I'm going to break something or I'm going to do something wrong or it's, just kind of stupid fears that I have over using an unknown machine or something that is new to me. Um but as far as sewing goes, I have um a pair of pants that I wouldn't mind making. I found some clearance knit fabric. Can't remember if it was Walmart. I think Walmart. Anyway, I found some clearance out knit fabric that I picked up, and I think it would make a splendid, just like kind of loose, baggy, like pant. So I am probably going to have to throw that onto my to-do list because I don't think it's there yet. And it's a long list. It's a long list. The worst thing about sewing. I think the worst thing about sewing to me is definitely using the machine. Like hand sewing, I really don't I could trust myself to hand sew, but when it comes to like being efficient and stuff, hand sewing is not for me. So I much prefer to use the machine. However, when you're using the machine, as everybody knows, when you're using a sewing machine, there are different quirks, I would say. And if you don't have things just so, your tension is off, you're getting weird glumps of thread on the bottom of your project. It's just, or things just don't line up right. And I think that is probably the worst part of sewing. I'm talking about sewing, not crocheting. But I think honestly, the issues with sewing the machine, the sewing machine and the threads and stuff is probably the worst part of sewing for me. I love the cutting process, especially for like when I'm like using the rotary cutter. However, I have learned a couple of times. I learned and then I had to relearn that the rotary cutter is sharp. So keep your fingies out the way. I keep Band-Aids in my craft room because I'm a klutz. Enough said. So that's probably another thing that's the worst part of sewing, is catching your finger with the rotary cutter, which I definitely would not recommend. Your favorite thing about sewing. I think my favorite thing about sewing is the fact that you can take a flat piece of fabric and you can turn it into just about anything. The same fabric can be a shirt, can become a teddy bear, can become curtains. I think that would be one of my favorite things to do, or my favorite thing about sewing. And now the final two questions are if you are a content creator. So if you are a content creator, what is the worst part about sewing, making sewing content? I would have to say the noise from the sewing machine. I am always worried that when I am showing footage of me sewing, that the machine has gotten too loud, or I don't, or the fact that while I am sewing with the machine movement, it's also shaking my cameras because my cameras are either straight, hard attached to my desk, or they are leaning against my desk in such a way that I'm afraid too that you're like seeing like the shakes and the shudders from me sewing from the sewing machine. But I think that's probably the worst part of content creating for me. Not to mention some of the rude comments, but I have to say that I haven't gotten that many rude comments, so I've been lucky. Yeah, so I think those would probably be the worst parts of content creating. And then to end this video on a nice positive note, because positivity here. My favorite thing about being a content creator, it would be the fact of showing. I'm probably sounding like a broken record by now. If you've watched my crochet and my knitting, I'm sounding like a broken record, but I think my favorite part is being able to show what I do, whether I have gotten it right and it turned out great, or I am the lesson to be learned from, like, do not do what she just did, because that will happen. I am so happy to be able to teach and to learn and to help y'all learn. And the kind comments, I love the kind comments. So keep them coming. I think that will wrap this up. So I am so glad that you have joined me for this. I am just over the moon by the amount of subscribers I've been getting lately. And I would love to keep it that way. If you are not yet subscribed, please do so. I have a lofty goal for the end of the summer, and it might actually turn into an even loftier goal come Christmas. So hopefully I can be doing a very nice celebration video in December, or by December. Who knows? I am planning on starting lives. I was going to start lives on Wednesdays, but that kind of got messed up with this week. But so keep an eye out for lives. I am not exactly sure when. If you guys have any time slot ideas as far as what works for you guys. I also know that I don't want to come on here too late for my lives. just for the fact that a lot of the people that I watch are on lives. Oh, excuse me. A lot of the people I watch are on lives in the evenings, and I just don't want to either take from them or be in over competition for them. So, but yeah, definitely leave in the comments below the answers to these questions if you are doing these questions. Yeah. So again, if you like this, please hit the like button and subscribe and join me on this fun, wild ride. I have lots more coming. Bye.